11 Best Lightweight Linux Distros for Old Computers 2022 edition. If you are using an old laptop or computer with low system resources, you can't enjoy the full power of Linux distros like Ubuntu, as it demands high resources. But that does not mean you have no options available for Linux distros for an old laptop. Many lightweight Linux distros let you enjoy a lag-free computing experience on your old computer and gives you a visual appealing graphical desktop. Apart from being lightweight, these operating systems are small, fast, secure, and feature-rich thanks to the light desktop environments that powers them. Number 1. Bodhi Linux. If you are looking for some Linux distro for an old laptop, there are good chances you will encounter Bodhi Linux. Bodhi Linux is a lightweight Linux distribution, specially designed to run on hardware with limited capabilities. Bodhi Linux is an Ubuntu LTS-based lightweight release that features Moksha Desktop. Moksha is a continuation of the Enlightenment 17 desktop with additional features and improvements. Moksha doesn't come with an internal window compositor by default, but one can add compass effects. On the aesthetics front, Bodhi Linux looks excellent and everything works just right. Thanks to Ubuntu repositories, you get access to tons of free software. The latest Bodhi Linux 5.1 is now available in 4 editions: Standard, Legacy, App Pack, and HWE. Each edition has special use cases. If you want a 64-bit operating system with kernel update to enjoy any brand new hardware support, you should consider the HWE edition. Or if you are not too concerned about the kernel, you should opt for a standard release. Furthermore, Bodhi Linux Legacy is a 32-bit version that you can use to give your old 15-year-old computer a new life. You can also use the App Pack edition, a live system-based OS that you can directly plug into your computer and run the default applications. Minimum hardware requirements for Bodhi Linux: 500 MHz processor, 256 MB of RAM, 5 GB storage space. Number 2. Puppy Linux. In case you are looking for a Linux distro with a cute name and special purpose, then check out Puppy Linux. One should note that Puppy Linux isn't based on some other distro. Instead, it can be built from packages of distros like Ubuntu. The choice of your binaries determines the availability of additional packages. In more straightforward language, if you are comfortable with apt-get, go with the Ubuntu version. Puppy Linux size is around 300 MB, making it one of the smallest Linux distros. So put all your worries about less storage space on your old PC in a corner and try the lightweight Puppy Linux. Puppy Linux doesn't come with any popular pre-installed applications to reduce its size, but it's understandably, it comes in both 32-bit and 64-bit versions, and one can install them on UEFI and BIOS-enabled PCs. Like many other Linux distros, you can also go for the live booting option using CD or DVD or USB. It boots itself entirely into RAM on boot up, so it's pretty fast and responsive. The developers of this lightweight Linux distro call it grandpa-friendly certified, which means it's straightforward to use. Minimum hardware requirements for Puppy Linux: 600 MHz processor, 256 MB of RAM. Number 3. Linux Lite. This operating system has been growing at a rapid pace in the recent past. If you are looking for a Linux distro that's equally lightweight, beginner-friendly, and good-looking, your search should end here. Personally, it is my favorite Linux distro that I have installed on my old laptop. It's a great Ubuntu-based lightweight Linux OS that's based on LTS releases. It comes loaded with all the popular and practical applications. The latest Linux Lite 5.0 has added more features to make it work out of the box and gives you a better Linux desktop experience. It also now supports default UEFI boot mode. The list of features doesn't just end here. Linux Lite is also considered one of the best Linux distros alternatives to Windows. So if you are switching from Windows, I would highly suggest starting with Linux Lite. Minimum hardware requirements for Linux Lite: 1 GHz processor, 768 MB of RAM, VGA screen, 1024x768 resolution. Number 4. Ubuntu Mat. If I had to choose a heavyweight among this list of lightweight Linux distros that can work on older machines, I'd choose Ubuntu Mat. The latest release of Ubuntu Mat, based on Ubuntu 20.04, turned out to be an essential release of the distro, packing 2 years of continued improvements to Mat Desktop and Ubuntu Mat itself. Mat is one of the best desktop environments alongside GNOME, KDE and Cinnamon. This is one reason you get a more refined look in this Ubuntu official variant that you can even run on your limited hardware system. Moreover, Ubuntu Mat also offers a polished Linux experience that would surely make the transition of any Windows user a pleasant experience. I often determine the small Linux distros that don't use many resources, but that's not the case here. It's even available for credit card sized, powerful Raspberry Pi. Minimum hardware requirements for Ubuntu Mat: 1 GHz processor, 1 GB of RAM, 8 GB free disk space, 1024x768 resolution or higher. Number 5. Lubuntu. Any list of lightweight Linux distros for netbooks and older PCs is incomplete without Lubuntu, which is an official Ubuntu flavor. Due to this, it enjoys the same software and repositories as Ubuntu. After Ubuntu Mat, Lubuntu is another Ubuntu variant that is fast, lightweight and highly suitable for old computers, even though the Lubuntu team has shifted their focus from providing a distribution for older hardware to a functional yet modular distribution. It also worth noting that starting from Lubuntu 18.10, the project has stopped releasing support for 32-bit images, so it could be a big no for those using older computers powered by 32-bit hardware. Yet, you get a good performance and speed with the latest Lubuntu 20.04 LTS that features a minimum LXQT desktop. The switch from LXDE desktop to LXQT was made from Lubuntu 18.10 to give a modern and lightweight desktop. Minimum hardware requirements for Lubuntu: Pentium 4 or Pentium M or AMD K8 or higher processor, 1 GB of RAM. Number 6. Arch Linux plus lightweight desktop environment. If you are an experienced user who loves customization, we recommend Arch Linux. Arch is a no-nonsense Linux distro, and it does not come loaded with lots of pre-installed packages. We'd recommend a lightweight window manager like i3. Sure, it will take some learning and googling compared to installing other distributions, but the things you will end up learning will put you at the level of an average Arch user. You can also go for bare bones open box window manager. There is a saying that the fastest desktop environment is not having one at all. Just in case you are willing to convert Arch into a fast and lightweight Linux distribution with a desktop environment, you got choices like Great XFCE and LXQT. One thing you should note before going for Arch Linux is to ensure your machine isn't based on 32-bit architectures, as Arch developers have stopped offering 32-bit images due to the decreasing popularity of the 32-bit platforms. There is an option to get for the forked Arch Linux 32 option as well. Minimum hardware requirements for Arch Linux: 530 MB of RAM, 64-bit architecture, 2 GB free disk space. Number 7. Xubuntu. Yet another one of the Ubuntu's flavors. Xubuntu is an Ubuntu-based distro with XFCE as its default desktop environment. It is not as lightweight as LXQT, but it still uses a lot fewer systems resources than your vanilla Ubuntu. XFCE ensures that the experience is clutter-free, and the distro is also pretty easy to use. As it one of the Ubuntu's flavors, it receives quick updates. If you own a very ancient laptop or PC that is more than 10 years old, Xubuntu might still not run very well. But if you have a comparatively modern PC, Xubuntu is the way to go. Minimum hardware requirements for Xubuntu: 1 GB RAM, Intel Core 2 Duo, CPU or higher. Number 8. Peppermint OS. Peppermint OS has a unique quality that sets it apart from other Linux distributions. It's a combination of cloud-based infrastructure and regular desktop applications for Linux. Apart from that, Peppermint is also one of the fastest Linux distro and a lightweight operating system. Like the other Linux distros mentioned in this video, this Ubuntu-based distro supports 32-bit and 64-bit hardware. Being Lubuntu-based, it takes advantages of Ubuntu's software repositories. Peppermint OS Linux distro combines minimal experience and looks visual appealing. It ships with the LXDE, known for its fast and lightweight nature, and its custom-made ICE applications for many tasks. Instead of running local applications, one can work in a site-specific browser. However, the Peppermint project is currently on halt, as its creator Mark Graves passed away. His contribution to the Linux community are something that we could never forget. The last release, that is Peppermint OS 10 based on Lubuntu 18.04, was in 2019, and there is no official confirmation if the project is still alive or end. But since it's based on Ubuntu LTS, Peppermint OS 10 should be supported till 2025. Minimum hardware requirements of Peppermint OS: 1 GB of RAM, Intel x86 architecture CPU, 20 GB of free disk space. Number 9. Anti-X. Anti-X Linux distro is based on Debian and ships without a systemd initiate system, which could be the deciding factor for some Linux enthusiasts. This lightweight Linux distro comes for both 32-bit and 64-bit hardware, making sense as it focuses on older and newer computers. You can also use Anti-X as a fast booting rescue CD running live with or without persistence on a USB stick. Currently, Anti-X 19.2 Manolis Glysos comes in 4 different editions: full, base, core and net. If you want complete control over the install, you can even use Anti-X core or Anti-X net and build up. Minimum hardware requirements for Anti-X: 256 MB of RAM, Intel or AMD x86. Number 10. Manjaro Linux XFCE Edition. There are many other fast and lightweight Linux distro, but I have decided to end this roundup with Manjaro Linux XFCE Edition. Wondering why? Apart from my liking for Manjaro, it also one of the fastest growing Linux distros with significant user community support. The XFCE edition of Manjaro Linux is a flagship offering with a polished, integrated and leading edge XFCE experience. Coupled with the power of an ArchSpace, XFCE delivers a fast and lightweight experience. While it might not be as light as compared to some other Linux distros mentioned in this video, it's undoubtedly going to turn out to be a great Linux desktop experience for you. It's also worth mentioning that Manjaro has dropped support for 32-bit architectures, so it could be a deal breaker for many who want to run on old 32-bit PC. However, you can easily try out the new Manjaro 32 project. Minimum hardware requirements for Manjaro XFCE: 1 GB of RAM, 1 GHz CPU. Number 11. Zorin OS Lite. Zorin OS Lite is a perfect distro for users who are tired of using Windows on their potato PC. Zorin OS is currently one of the most beautiful Linux distros and is an ideal alternative to Windows. While it is not the lightest distros out there, it's still a pretty great thanks to the XFCE that helps Zorin OS Lite run smoother. It also comes with a decent amount of useful pre-installed tools for a light version. Minimum hardware requirements for a Zorin OS Lite is 512 MB of RAM, 600 x 480 pixel resolution, 8 GB of storage, single core 700 MHz CPU, 32-bit or 64-bit CPU. People often criticize the new Linux community because choosing a Linux distro is very confusing. While we don't completely disagree with the statement, we think the number of choices that users have when choosing a distro is a win in itself. Don't like a distro? There's probably a better one out there that you haven't heard of. Linux has a lot to offer to everyone. That's why there are so many great choices for lightweight Linux distros for old computers. But keeping in mind the easy installation and hassle-free experience, we recommend Bodhi Linux, Lubuntu, Zorin OS Lite or Ubuntu Mat on your old computer. For better support with a beautiful desktop, you can choose either Linux Lite or Ubuntu Mat. If you are an experienced Linux user who loves to build their system, go for Arch Linux plus lightweight desktop environment option. If you own a low-powered 32-bit computer, make sure to confirm that the distro of your choice supports it. Do you know of any good Linux distro that deserves to be on this list? Let me know in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the thumbs up button. It helps make a good content for you. Other than that, I'll see you in tomorrow's video. Peace out.